Hi, everyone, and welcome to Ask an Autism Mom with Jen Eggert of LAKIKID.com. You can join me every Monday to learn tips, share your insights, and meet other parents. Today, I'm going to be talking with Matt. He's been on the show. This is, I think, our third time. Matt, as you all know, is an OT, but he is also a former special education teacher. So today he's going to help walk us through a little bit of IEP information, because I know many of us are starting the IEP process for next year. So let's get ahead of the game and know our information we should know for IEPs now. That way we are prepared. If you know someone who could use this information or tips, please tag them in the comments below or share on your timeline now. You know that I appreciate every like, share, tag, comment, everything. It means the world to us as a company, and it shows that we are actually helping people. I especially want to thank Matt for coming. He's had a rough couple of days, and he is here. So thank you, Matt.
No problem. Happy to be here.
Now, I want to welcome those of you watching on Facebook or listening to the podcast on YouTube, or if you want to get alerts to join us live and ask questions live, visit LAKIKID.com/live. I want to welcome everyone for coming today. Melinda, good morning. I know you were excited about this one, Melinda, last night. Hi, Melissa. Welcome. And welcome to everyone else viewing. As you know, we have a Matt joining us, who is a former special education teacher and now an OT, so he has tons of valuable information and experience. We are going to be discussing IEPs. I can't wait to dig into this topic with you today, but first, a huge shout out to our sponsors. As you know, our sponsor is LAKIKID.com, and I actually get to show you one of our newest products, the Write and Chill. This is a lap pad that you can actually write with the water pen. There's a fun little water pen. It's refillable, and once it dries, the color goes away. Now, please watch till the end of the show. I will be making an announcement about this lap pad at the end of the show. Hi, Jason. Good morning. Good morning, Angela. I know you were going to be here. You never miss a show unless you're in training. So if you're just joining us, you're listening to Ask an Autism Mom, and today I am talking with Matt, who is an OT and owner of Sensory Fitness, which is not what you would think. When you think sensory fitness, a lot of people think it's a workout gym. It is actually not. Matt, do you want to just give us a quick explanation on what Sensory Fitness is to you?
Sure. Sensory Fitness is a program I started a little over a year ago, and it's fitness for kids with neurodiversities. I do one-on-one classes. I do one-on-one sessions. I do group classes, and we work on fitness, but we're working on specific movements. I take a lot of what I'm doing as a CODA, as an occupational therapy assistant, and where I specialize in sensory integration, and I implement a lot of the stuff I'm doing in the clinic and stuff like that into a gym setting or an outdoor park setting. And we work a lot on sensory motor piece, on bilateral coordination, core strength, perceptual motor, that kind of stuff, with taking into account all the sensory issues a kid might struggle with. As well, I do workshops to help with to teach classes and fitness instructors as well.
So you really believe in the theory of a sensory diet?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Someday, I want to get you on the show to talk about sensory diet, because I know a lot of people are dying to hear what a sensory diet means and how it can be effective.
Sure. Love to.
Now, today we're going to be discussing IEPs. Now, the first question that so many parents ask is, how do you set goals and objectives?
Well, okay. So so just a reminder that I was a special ed teacher for about 13 years, and it's been 5 years since I've been practicing teaching in the classroom, being a special ed teacher. So a lot of the laws changed, the formats changed, these kinds of things have changed. So if I'm a little, I might be a little rusty on a couple things, but for the most part, the questions that you're asking me, they should still apply. So, but if I am wrong, I do apologize about any of the stuff. But um, so when considering goals, they don't really write objectives anymore. It's just broad goals and then just, smaller goals. That's kind of how it's set up. But you as a parent wouldn't be responsible for writing the goals, but you definitely should have input on the goals that are written. I always suggest to parents that to have a copy of the IEP before coming into the meeting, especially the goals and the accommodations and modifications, that kind of stuff. Just to have a sense of where the teachers and the educators and the caseworkers are coming from. But the goals will be written around education, around the school setting. Some kids don't always have, some kids might have some life skill goals kind of go in that direction, but still the goals will be written around that in kind of in a school setting. Yeah, definitely have a rough draft to be sent to the parent before the meeting from the caseworker or the parent or the teacher. And there's nothing wrong with parents bringing their own goals as well. They don't have to be written perfectly. They just have an idea, and the actual wordsmithing of that you can do with the team. But it's not a bad idea to have. It's you're the one with the child that most of the time you're the primary caregiver, and you know your kid better than most. So to have something that you think is important to work on, to talk about it with the team, and you can all agree on that or not, but to bring it to the IEP meeting as well. And goals should be written where the kid's struggling the most and where it affects them in school. And they should be SMART goals, SMART. It's an acronym. And it stands for specific. The goals should be written specific, like not just a broad, like Johnny will do better in math. It has to be specific. What's the goal and how will Johnny get to complete that goal? It should be measurable. Meaning, you should be able to measure that goal. It should be observable. Excuse me. Should be measurable, not just kind of willy-nilly. You should be able to measure the goal in some way. It should be achievable, which meaning realistic, not something unattainable that you and the team decide that the kid can actually achieve. It should be results oriented. So based on data. Not just like, oh, I think he's doing well on that part. No, you should have data to back up why the kid needs to work on that goal. Track the goal, data on that goal, and then when you go back to look at it, here's the data and everything that fits into following if the kid has had any progress. And then time bound. So making sure that there's some sort of restriction on 3 months, 6 months, a year. So again, it kind of goes back into the measurable piece as well. Right. Yeah.
Now, I just want to say, when he's explaining about the measurable, Riley's main goal for 4 years was she didn't know how to raise her hand. She did not understand the concept of you raise your hand. So that was always a goal. And it was very specific to raise her hand. In 1 year, we expected her to raise her hand 30% of the time. That was her first year's goal. And every year we would increase the increment. Her last IEP meeting 2 weeks ago, she is now hand raising 100% of the time. So if you write a goal that is specific and you make it obtainable, and I think, Matt, you'll agree that if it's not obtainable, why are you putting it in there?
Correct. Yeah. It has to be achievable. Yeah.
So we made it small. We expected her in 4K 30% of the time. 5K, I think it went up to like 45. Kindergarten, she got a blast. It went up to 60. And then in first grade, we decided on 80. And she actually surpassed us. And that goal is now gone because she has it under control.
Great.
I mean, she's a typical first grader. Yes, she forgets sometimes. But on the measured, the teacher keeping track was saying that she forgets about as much as every other child. And you have to also remember, parents, that they are children. They are not perfect. They are not robots. They're not going to get these perfect. I've seen parents say, well, their IEP goal is this. They should have it in this many months. It's not always possible. It does take extra time for some kids. Now, Matt, what is my role as the parent in an IEP meeting?
So your role is sorry, I'm in bed. I have just overcoming hip surgery, so I'm in bed at the moment.
We're fine.
I have to adjust every once in a while. So your role as a parent in the IEP team is you're an intricate member of the IEP team, if not most important member of the IEP team. Again, you are with the kid. You know your kid the best. You have just as much say as anyone else in that team. When you walk into that room, sometimes it can be a little intimidating. I remember as a teacher, sometimes even the way the meeting is set up, where there's like a row of teachers or administrators or educators, and then there's the parent and the teacher kind of facing everybody. It's kind of weird. Sometimes it's the way it's set up is strange. It can be intimidating. Not all of them are like that. Some of them can be. But I feel sometimes parents, for lack of a better term, feel like they get rolled over, or just they're giving them a whole bunch of information at once. And sometimes people just check out, like, wow, this is a lot. I don't even know what you're talking about. You're using huge words. You're moving way too fast. I'm not even sure what exactly we're talking about. But just remember, as a parent, you're a part of that IEP team. And it's not possible without you there. You are a huge piece of that puzzle. That being said, you have a say with whatever happens in that meeting, whatever goes into that IEP. Of course, listen, taking into account the teachers and the therapists and the caseworkers and all the educators involved in your kid, taking their counsel, taking their advice. They're the professionals. They're going to see your kid in a different angle, in a different light than you do, and they see him in different settings. So take into what they're saying into account, because what they're saying is valid. But at the same time, if you don't understand something, if you don't agree with something, don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to speak up. It's your role to kind of ask questions and to clarify whatever you don't understand, and whatever you even if you don't agree with something, speak up. It can be intimidating, but you have every right to do so, and every right to know what exactly is going on in that meeting and going into that IEP.
Now, pertaining to that, I know for myself, it's intimidating, like you said, the setup. And I always make sure when we set it up, I have a picture of Riley on the table. That way everyone knows exactly who we're talking about. I have went to one meeting where the teacher started talking about another student accidentally. From then on, that taught me a lesson. Make sure they know it's my child and who she is.
And yeah, that can happen. Absolutely. And, it can seem bad at the same time. Being a teacher, especially a special ed teacher, you are overwhelmed a lot of the times. It's really, you should definitely know what kid you're talking about in the IEP. That's kind of nuts. But yeah, keeping the focus on the kid. And if the child's not there, that's a great idea. Bring a picture of your child, and always bring it back to your kid, because sometimes you can kind of branch off into other conversations. But that's a great idea.
And I know at our school, and it's something that I actually love, our principal or assistant principal sit in on every IEP meeting. In our case, we've had problems with the school, so our principal sits in because she knows Riley's case the best. And I love how she sets up the table, because she commands that table, and she always makes sure she sits beside the parent. And that way she says, well, let me see your notes. And she looks over my notes and she goes, oh, we forgot this one. Or she'll actually write notes for me on my paper to help me. So having a great team really helps. And it makes a big difference. Now, Matt, if I don't agree do I have to sign the papers right away? Say In my case, my husband works full-time outside of the home. He can't make it to the meeting. I want to show him our IEP goals. Do I have that right?
To not sign?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, it's a contract. So, if you're going for a job and you get the contract and there's something within that job and that contract you don't agree with, you don't have to sign it. It's a legal document. So, yeah, if there's something you don't understand or something you want more clarification on or something you even disagree with, work it out before you sign that paper. I don't getting into the legal stuff. I don't remember that much of it, and that's not my strength of it. But yeah, if there's anything about that you want more information about, and it just doesn't feel right, yeah, don't sign it yet. Make sure you have full understanding, you all agree on what's best for your kid to move on before you sign that paper.
Now, how should I prepare for the IEP meeting?
Well, it's always good. It's great that the teacher or the caseworker sends you a copy of the IEP. And even when I was a teacher, I would send them the entire document, but I would highlight kind of the important parts. There's so much involved in IEP, it gets overwhelming. But I would kind of highlight the parts that I would want them to focus on, more so the goals, present levels of performance, which is how your kid's doing thus far, the goals, and any progress on those goals that they've already had, and then any accommodations and modifications, plus a couple other things. But those are the ones I want to talk about. So having a copy of the IEP is great. If it's getting close and you don't have one, you can request one. That, hey, can you send me a copy along with my rights? Usually you get a copy of the parents' rights that should come in the mail, or I think it has to be a physical copy, depending on the state. But yeah, you usually get a copy of that. So yeah, send me a copy of the IEP, please. Go over it. If you're stressed for time, do your best, but have some questions ready, or highlight some of the things you don't understand. And like I said, know the present levels, like how is your kid doing so far, and definitely know the accommodations and the modifications. Have they been implemented? Okay, so here's a list of accommodations my kid's supposed to have. Have you been using those? How have you been using those? Because that's important. So you're in the loop about how those are working. If you don't not getting constant updates, and this is the one time you have connection with everybody in the IEP team, this is a great chance. Like, okay, so these are the combinations we talked about last meeting. How are they doing? Are they working? Do they need to be changed? That kind of stuff.
Now, I just want to say, when it comes to that as well, I tend to ask for major evaluations to be sent home to me a week or so before the IEP meeting, so I can see any physical deficits in where she's advanced. Having the evaluations and actually looking them over makes me feel more confident going into the meeting, because I have a better idea of what the teacher is actually seeing.
Great.
Now, what happens if I do not agree? And I know we have a question coming up at the end of the show. I'm going to kind of throw it into this one as well, Matt. What happens if we don't agree with the IEP? We have one parent who's actually going through an IEP process with her child, and the special education director will not listen to the parents and the teachers, and they're trying to force a child who is probably 7-year-old level to go to high school.
7-year-old level?
He's probably at the level of a 7-year-old. I'm not going to call her out, but she knows who I'm talking about. She's a dear friend. Please, if I'm correct with who I'm talking about, just say yes. But he's about a 7-year-old level, and they're trying to force him into high school.
Well, if there's any discrepancy within the team and you don't all agree, you don't have to. Again, you don't have to sign the document. If you don't agree, and if the document's not signed, then the IEP won't be implemented, and therefore, it gets into legal stuff. If the kid has an IEP and the time is up that it's due, that IEP has to be ready to go. So you need to come with. There's a time frame, I forget, but yeah, no, you all have to agree to some terms, and yeah, it's hard for me to speak as if someone in the team is not allowing or not listening to anyone else in the team, you can probably take some legal actions. That's a question. My wife's a principal. She specializes in special education. That would be when I'd ask her.
Yes, she just confirmed that his brain levels, the doctors say that he's at the brain level of a 6 to 7 year old.
Oh, okay. And they're wanting him to go to high school?
And they want him to go to high school.
Well, I mean, there's probably a lot of factors involved. But again, if there's members on the team that don't agree, then you need to come to some sort of agreement before anything else happens. Yeah, you can take legal action as well. Because, again, you are a part of that team. There's no one driving force member on that IEP team that kind of calls the shots. It's a group effort.
Now, how do we incorporate sensory-related accommodations into our IEP?
Oh, well, I can talk all day about this.
This is your fun part. This is what you love.
So I like talking about this because I feel like so let's just say it's safe to say that any kid on the spectrum has some sort of sensory difficulty. I'm not going to say every kid, but I'm going to say it's safe to say that every kid on the spectrum has some sort of sensory issue. That being said, if a kid has an IEP, especially on the spectrum, there should be some sort of sensory assessment given in order to place some accommodations within the classroom setting, because that's something you in place these accommodations to give that ramp up the steps, right? It's not something you can teach. It's a service you provide to help the kid get to that higher academic level on par with everyone else and his peers where he should be, right? So first step would be, talking about it with the team, and then giving the kid an assessment just to see. So what I mean by assessment, there's the sensory processing measure, there's the sensory profile 2, and there's a couple of those ones. Those are the two that I like. And they can be given by an OT. You could do it by yourself online just to kind of give yourself an idea about. And what it does is it tells you some of the sensory systems where the kid struggles with. So maybe the kid has auditory overstimulation or over visually. He's over visually stimulated, or she has no body awareness or difficulty with balance. All that stuff plays into difficulty with academics. So if I can supply some sort of accommodation like headphones, a weighted vest, a quiet place to work, if I know these are struggles and I know this will help the kid in the classroom, I'm gonna do my best to get that kid the accommodation. A lot of times I'll walk into a classroom. Something else I do is I walk into classrooms and I observe, excuse me, and I help teachers and schools provide sensory strategies in the classroom. So a lot of times I'll see it's kind of a more of an academic approach to help kids kind of get back on track, when it could just be giving them either some a movement-based strategy, or some kind of other sensory-based strategy to help them kind of get to a more alert level or a place of learning. So sorry, the question was.
You're good.
Yeah, so giving them some assessments, knowing what works for your kid, and then also implementing some movement strategies in that class, because I consider that a huge sensory accommodation. Is actually movement.
Okay, now I'm going to switch over to questions from the audience. Melissa, yes, I know you would love it, and I will, Melissa, I promise, I will schedule a date for a sensory diet show. I know Matt, in his glory, once he's back to his healthy self, would love to come back on and help us with the sensory diet. You have your gym in your home where you have all your equipment. I think we could make a really fun show with sensory diet one day. And maybe Matt's little boy, who is currently watching Dinosaur Train, would be willing to show some movement.
Oh my goodness, he would love it.
And I think, and that's where our viewers do love it, Matt, is, I mean, they love to see kids, of course, especially, who doesn't love to see kids being cute and funny? Only grumpy old people, but. Now, Jessica says, I just had my IEP meeting last week for my son, and I'm okay with the results, but they are changing a few things for the next school year, and I'll admit I'm a bit nervous. Jessica, we're always a bit nervous when something changes. I think it's just part of being that parent mentality. There's always that little bit of being nervous. I remember when they were pushing us to keep Riley in 5K for one more year because they only got her halfway through the year because she was surpassing her friends in 4K. So they said she'd have to do a year and a half. I was okay with that. My husband went in and said, no, she's going to kindergarten. She is ready. I was terrified, absolutely terrified. They did all the evaluations and they were shocked. They were not planning on evaluating her, but she passed. They put her in kindergarten. We had the wrong teacher, so it took us a couple of months to smooth things out. And once we found the right classroom for her, she grew. She went from barely knowing anything to now being one of the top in her class, and she is in a mainstream class, 20 students, one teacher, and she's one of their best. She's the example that the teacher uses for math all the time because she has these math questions in her head that she can just spit out. It's crazy. She answered 87 plus like 34 the other day. I'm like, you're 7. I have to think about it for a minute. You're 7. Please don't do that to me. So, Matt, I know you'll probably admit that you've seen parents nervous, and your biggest suggestion would be to just give it a chance.
Yeah, give it a chance. There's always an amendment if something is happening in the IP that you really disagree with, but it's already in place and things are rolling, and you can always amend it. And the meaning, like you can say, hey, I really like to change a couple things. Can we have a meeting and we talk about it and we make a change to the IEP? But yeah, it's if again, listen to the advice of the people in the room that also work with your kid. Yes, you know best, but they're also looking at your kid in a different angle, and you're gonna know then you're gonna know the quality of their workability and their knowledge. So if you trust them, trust them and see how it goes. And usually, for the most part, the people that in the room have the best intentions for your kid, and they in conjunction with your thoughts and ideas, you guys usually all put together a pretty good plan. It doesn't always happen, but you give it a shot and hope and hope for the best sometimes. But yeah, again, if you don't agree with it, you can always call for an amended meeting.
And just to let you know, you can ask for a revision or an amendment at any time during the school year. It does not have to be during what they call in our school system IEP season. You can call anytime you have a concern. Now, Melinda, she's actually one of the ones who taught me this. Melinda says the last IEP, I brought an 8x10 picture in a frame and placed it on the table. And Matt and I were just talking about that. Keeping it centered on the child is key. We have one lady who is in charge of every special education kid in our elementary school, another elementary school, and our middle school. 3 schools, and she's in charge of all of them.
Yeah, it's crazy.
She has to write every IEP. So, yes, I keep a picture. That way she knows exactly which child she's talking about. And she appreciates it. And I know she says, she started actually printing out pictures herself of the students. So she knows.
That's a really good idea. And it's, sometimes, again, with an educator or special education teacher or caseworker, you get dumped a lot of cases. And it's just, we're all human beings. Sometimes we just get overwhelmed and we lose track of the ball sometimes. And sadly, that's just the reality of it. It's just the way special ed is set up and our education is set up. Teachers are overwhelmed. Special ed teachers are even more overwhelmed. It's one of the reasons I was kind of done, because there's so much to be responsible for, and you get burned out pretty fast. But keeping the kid focused, like that's your goal right there. It's just like a visual, it's like you would do anywhere else, right? Like you're keeping your goal posted. Your picture of your kid's an awesome idea. I love that idea.
Now, Jason asks, what is the best way to coordinate the IEP goal with the goals of all other therapies that the child is doing?
Well, you kind of get into mixed waters here. The IEP is written just for school. Anything revolving around the IEP is it's an individualized education plan. And the reason the kid has an IEP is because whatever is happening is affecting the kid's education. You can, like me as a therapist, getting school goals. Some of the school goals is cool to have to see what they're working on in school, and maybe I can incorporate that. But I wouldn't bring therapy goals into the IEP goals.
I think Jason is specifically speaking about, I know Keanu does ABA.
Mm-hmm.
So would you keep ABA and school separate?
You know, I might bring the ABA therapist with me to the IEP meeting, because and anybody involved in that kid's life, any kind of therapist, ABA, OT, PT, anybody involved in that kid coming to the meeting, then you have a bigger picture of the kid. And everybody that knows this kid's goals all together, you can work together to help this kid on many other levels. I wouldn't get into like, oh, he's working in, if I'm a special ed teacher, I wouldn't be like, oh, in ABA, this is his goal, so I'm going to incorporate that into my goal. It kind of gets, school is for school. ABA's, you're getting to kind of mixy water. So, but having them present at the meeting, I think, is a great idea.
Jason said that yes, the BCBA in charge of his case does attend his IEP meetings.
Cool. Awesome.
Now, Melissa, going to your question, I would, because your son is young, you want him in 4K, I would go to the local preschool. I know here, when they evaluate a child for preschool, they go through the normal evaluation. And my process was I had to fill out forms for the normal evaluation, and it came to, does your child have a diagnosis, or has your child ever received early intervention? Once I checked that box, they immediately removed us, put us in a different room.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Just a minute, Katie. I'm doing something. I'll be out in a minute.
So get them, go to the preschool, explain the diagnosis, and they will help you through the process. And Melissa, if you have any other questions about that, you can ask me. If I'm not sure, Matt knows I have messaged him in the past saying, what do I do? So we will help you with that, because that is a new process for you. Now, I want to thank all of you for watching. I have very special news. Let me pull up the exact wording, because this is new to me. But we have a new rewards program. So you can join our Kickstarter VIP rewards list and get a LAKIKID Write and Chill weighted lap pad for up to 55% off. This is the Write and Chill. Remember, I showed you earlier, water pen, you can draw on it. If you join our Kickstarter VIP reward list, which I will have Jason or Miguel write in the comments, and I will also post it in group today. If you join our reward program, I'm going to tell you, once you put your email down to join our Kickstarter rewards program list, you will be able to enter a giveaway to win a free Write and Chill weighted lap pad.
Cool.
So if you join our VIP list, yes, you can get a chance to win a free lap pad. The link will be lakikid.com/writable. Now, you know me, you know my love of special codes. There is a section in there where it says what the secret word is. I can't remember the exact writing. We wrote the giveaway 2 weeks ago, But you know me and my secret phrase. The secret phrase is my lucky kid. 2 words, my, and then LAKIKID. If you do that, you get 1 extra free point. So thank you all for watching. I thank you, Matt, for coming. I know it's been a long couple of days for you and you're tired.
I'm a little tired. Thanks for having me, Jen. I appreciate it.
But thank you all for joining us live. You can join me every Monday live at 1 p.m. Eastern for more tips. If you enjoyed today's video, you can subscribe to our live show by typing 5 in the comment section now. And if you are watching on YouTube, you can subscribe by hitting the subscribe button and hit the bell notification button. And remember, you can always join our parent support group at lakikid.com/parent. And you can go to lakikid.com/ask to leave a question for me to be answered on an upcoming show. Until next time, thanks for watching. And remember, every child brings good luck.
Thank you. Have a good day, everybody.